Two. All righty, guys and gals. I already see we've got Jason and Mary Jo in the chats this morning. Much like Jason and Mary Jo, I'm very excited. As Jason put in his MacVSOG X Twitter page today, which I showed Mr. Larry, he got a good kick out of some of the photos that Jason shares because he actually knows a few of the guys in the photos. I want to thank Jason because Jason is actually the person who found Mr. Larry first off online through pictures and worked his tail off to find the Facebook group that Mr. Larry is a part of with his fellow Seawolves. And that's where I stepped in and immediately bombarded the door of Mr. Larry trying to get in touch with him. And he was gracious enough to let me bend his ear a bit. And here we are. We finally got a Seawolf on, and we're going to get to talk to him and hear what it was like as a serving in a very elite unit in a very, shall I say, somewhat unknown, considering they started in country and were deactivated in country. Very, very interesting. As I said, been looking forward to this. This is just going to be a wonderful, wonderful show. So before I talk anymore, Mr. Larry, thank you for joining us, and I'm going to let you give yourself a little bio, and we'll get it going from there.
Well, thanks for having me to start with. Surprised, very. Anyway, Larry Rogers joined the Seawolves in January of '69. Went through several months of training stateside, helicopter training in Long Beach, SEER School in Coronado. Went down to Fort Rucker to helicopter gunship training, learned to shoot a machine gun out of an airplane. Went home for a couple of weeks, turned 21, went back to Saigon, avoided the Annapolis Hotel, did that the first time when I went to Da Nang. Went over to Flightline, asked for a flight down to Vong Tau to the Seawolves. And I remember that, oh, you're a Seawolf? And I thought, what the devil have I done, Because all the guys around there knew the Seawolves, and I had no clue. I didn't know. Anyway, like the old joke about, the family sends you out to play, and then when you come back home, they moved. Well, I got down to Vong Tau, and the squadron was gone. They had moved at the end of May, and I had missed them like a day or two. They had moved from Vong Tau, just outside of Saigon, down to Ben Tui, which is in the center of the Delta on one of the big rivers down there, one of the main thoroughfares. So that was centrally located as far as the operational areas. So that's why the Seawolves moved down there. But when I got to Vong Tau, they're all gone, but they treated me great. Oh, Seawolf, sure. They put me up for the night. And next day, got a ride down to Vong Tau, checked in, and about, about 3 weeks or so later, went up to DET2 at Na Bay and spent a year and a half flying out of Na Bay. DET2 was the original, I think, DET27.
Yes, sir.
It was renamed DET2. It was the only detachment that never moved. All of the other detachments got moved around, and when you're on a boat, LSD, of course, you're going to move. But some of the other smaller land bases, they just bounced around wherever they were needed, kind of thing. Na Bay, because of the shipping channel running from Vong Tau up to Saigon, that was the primary artery supply, had to be protected all the time. Just as I got there, the squadron increased from either 5 or 6 dets up to 9 detachments, and it went up to 9. Na Bay was increased from 2 helicopters to 4 helicopters, so we had 2 fire teams up there. Everybody else only had 2 helicopters, all the other detachments. But because of the shipping channel being what it was, the emphasis was put on that. Also, because we were land-based, we actually had a runway. Wasn't much, but it was more than most had. We became the training detachment because we had better launch capabilities with the additional weight of the third guy sitting on the ammo cans in the middle of the helicopter. So we trained a lot of gunners that then were sent out to other detachments. One of the I'm not going to say downside, but one of the other aspects of being land-based. Remember Roger Staubach with the Naval Academy quarterback? Well, later went to
Cowboys.
All those linebackers and linemen and fullbacks that played with Roger Staubach at the Navy Academy, Wood, Cook, Downing, we had these buffaloes because they couldn't launch off a damn ship. They could off. So man, I'm serious. So you look on some of the website on the photos and you'll see one of our illustrious football player pilots on a 55-gallon drum that was roped up between the legs of the tower, the control tower there at Knob Bay. That was our bucking Broncos. So we get in there and, jerk those that have 4, 5, 6 people on the ropes on each corner and somebody trying to ride this bucking Bronco. Well, that was one of the football players from the Naval Academy. Anyway, sorry we get sidetracked with the BS.
We love that. We love
you guys have to understand we've done this a couple of times now, and this is how the conversation goes. So
we love it, sir. It's fun.
Anyway, I spent a year and a half there. Quite an interesting time. Vietnam was what you might call a trauma-rich environment. Just pick a spot. You could get the shit scared out of you, not a problem. We did things that they don't allow nowadays. You'd be in big damn trouble. I don't mean you get busted. You go to jail for some of the stuff we did back then. And it was all perfectly fine. These guys talk about the 60 barrels, and they did get hot. And when you get that damn thing, you talk about cherry red at the end of the barrel on the flash suppressor and stuff out there, you get those things almost white hot. And then the bullets coming out of there spin like a corkscrew going down through there. Well, these guys will tell you about you just flip the latch on it, take your asbestos glove and slide that barrel out and then put it up in the rack on it and then get another one and put it and then go back to shooting it. Bullshit. That damn thing get cherried like that, and get white and start screwing up and wasn't going where I was pointing. They just flip the lever and chomp the damn thing like that. Barrel slides out, grab a new one, stuck it in there, flip it down, rack back, bang. Only takes a few seconds that way. If I was to throw a gun barrel over the side nowadays, Leavenworth, here I come. But back then, that's what you did. You had other things that were more important. So the gun barrel, it was already, what good do you think that damn barrel is going to be when it hits that swamp water down there? Curl up like a pretzel. So we didn't worry about that kind of stuff too much. But, just being a SeaWolf, people talk about, and they don't believe it. I wish I'd have I've got an A&K airsoft gun back here. It's an M60. I've had it for several years. And thanks to Aaron Demko, I've got it pretty much like we had back in the aircraft. I've got another pistol grip from him. I got a can to go on the back to replace the shoulder. So now I can show people at the air shows. That was our trigger finger. We shot it out of the port side of the aircraft like that. If you move to the starboard side on the right side, the gun orientation remained the same. You simply swapped hands. Now your right hand went to the foregrip and your index finger became the trigger finger on your left hand, and you shoot it out of the starboard side up to the pilot and back to the tailbone. But when you're on the other side, gun orientation stayed exactly the same. So you just switch your hands like this as far as which way you're shooting the thing. Anyway, different. But
That's one
nobody
thing
believed that that was our darn trigger finger right there.
that, and I was trying to get a clip of that from the video because and guys, while I'm looking for that, hang on one second. We're going to talk about this a little bit later though,
Oh
guys,
yeah,
and I've got this in the show notes. This is called Scramble the Seawolves,
tilt it
and
just a little bit. It's reflecting. There you go. There, that's good. That's pretty good right there.
yeah, and it is absolutely outstanding. It is how three Navy Sea Wolves, Vietnam, Mekong Delta, 66 to 72. It covers their entire history span. This particular one is the Blu-ray edition. Mr. Larry was kind enough to send me a copy, but I've put the show link for the regular CD/DVD as well as Blu-ray in case you don't have a Blu-ray
The
player
new,
you can still watch.
yeah, the first videos that came out were on the Blu-ray because of the video definition, quality, and all that. CDs and that sort of thing, anything lesser would not handle it. But because of the newer technology and software compression and all that kind of stuff, now the new, and I just got some, the new packages have both discs in it. So you get the Blu-ray and the other. So you do, you know, you have one player or the other. Should be able to play it regardless.
That's outstanding. And guys, I've so a lot of the viewers should know because they watched Jocko Willink, and they had Mr. Dennis, was it Rowley, or I forgot Mr. Dennis's name, but he was there talking about the Seawolves and promoting this, and
Okay.
I immediately started looking around for it, and I managed to catch a little bit of it, not the full version. And when I finally saw the full version, the combat sequences, you guys filming the action, just in the photos, unbelievable. Which I'm about to show some, but we'll be speaking about that a little bit later. But I wanted to show some of the guys what you were talking about with your trigger finger and how you were shooting.
Correct. Now, that would be, and see, I'm actually holding it upside down there. That would have to be turned 180 degrees towards my torso there. In other words, as it, damn it, I'm trying to get in the camera here. As I'm holding it like this, firing that thing right now, it would have to be flipped over and up and turned. One of those pictures that I sent you, didn't it have a shot of me in the helicopter, yellow helmet, shooting that thing? Did I send you that?
Yes, sir. Let me. I
It might.
believe.
It's probably on the website there somewhere, but where I don't know. It's in there. But yeah, that was on the pier on that shot there. It's just so the ammo is feeding up from the bottom. Same with this one here. That's a different day. But here I had, you see my little finger down there on the gun. I had just let off, and that one shell that's up there was the last shell that had just fired. And but the other one in the flight suit, you'll see that string of shells and clips just steady out of the gun, but you don't see my little finger because I've still got the trigger held down on it.
And I am looking to find. I had that several of those photos. I guess I've got a whole slew of photos about that. I'll pull up in just a second.
Okay.
They were talking about the 60s.
Oh yeah, Jason was asking how many 60 barrels you usually carry on a helicopter with you. Depending on whether it's the lead bird or the trail bird. The lead bird, when I got there, the lead bird always had the 50 cal on the right side behind the pilot, and the free gun 60 on the left side. The trail bird had two free gun 60s. The 60 on the lead bird on the back of the co-pilot seat, and some of the pictures you may be able to see it. We had a little rack that had a hook on it, came down, and along the bottom it had 6 pieces of pipe a couple of inches long, welded to a piece of flat bar. So you had these little pieces of pipe sitting on this bar. A 60 barrel would fit right down in there. We had 6 of those. So you carried 6 barrels on the back of the co-pilot seat for that free gun 60. In the Trailbird, they had the same thing. They had a rack on the back of each pilot seat because they didn't have the 50. They just had 2 free gun 60s, one on each side. And that way each gunner had 6 barrels. There have been times, not many, thank goodness, but
there's some on the back of his
yeah,
seat
there's
right
2 on the back of that one. But it kind of shows what it. And this gunner's survival gun was that M16 sitting there on the right, and I believe that was an early A model 16 from the looks of that flash suppressor. If there's no ring around their front ports.
Mm-hmm.
The first ones came out, just had those 3 prongs on it, and the guys in the jungle going through there, and the shit would jam up on the end of it, weeds and vines and limbs and crap. So finally, the brass, we put a ring around the end of it, and that way the vines and grapevines and shit won't get caught in it. But anyway, the early A models had to open, and then later changed. Let's see, what else was the question here? The old empty C ration worked pretty good to help feed the M60. If you were holding the M60 in the standard position with the pistol grip down, so you held it like a regular rifle. On the left side where the ammo fed in there had those clips and stuff on it for other things, but the ammo, the C rations can clipped right in there, and it did allow the ammo to bypass those little clips on the side of the M60s because the clips were now filled up with that C ration can. So the ammo fed right over the top of that can, whereas with the Seawolves, look at the top cover of the M60. It's smooth. When you take that thing in a standard orientation and turn it 90 degrees to the left, so that your trigger housing now is, instead of straight down, it's pointing out to the west, 90 degrees to the left. And now the ammo coming up over the top of that ammo of the feed of the tray, it's all smooth right there. You don't need anything to assist the ammo to go in there. A lot of people ask about the 60s. Did we mess with them, modify them? There wasn't nothing we didn't mess with. The first thing you had to do on the 60, because you were hanging outside the helicopter with that long belt, you put 2 speed springs in the tray. Otherwise, one speed spring wouldn't always pull it. And the feed spring in the tray, you put 2 of them in there. That way it helped when it feed the ammo in, it helped pull it in addition to the tracks and the off-rod and all that other stuff. When I got there, we had mechanical buffers in the back of the 60s. In other words, it just had springs in it. Later, that was changed to, I'll tell you about this little setup in just a second. Later, it was changed to hydraulics so that there's no mechanical springs. But the mechanical buffers would take those apart and either put a dime or another little section of spring down in it to stiffen it up, and it would make it recoil faster, so it would fire faster. You could gain 50, 75 rounds a minute doing that. The hydraulics came out later, but that was different. On this picture you're showing right there, this gun is mounted to a pylon. So this would have been mid-70 or right around in there. That's when they, everything, no free guns had to go to a pylon mounted gun. You'll notice the foregrip is still in there, even though it's mounted on a pylon. The reason I'm saying it's 70s like that is because this was still a free gun door gunner. He knew how to free gun. And what he did, yes, sir, that's on a pylon. See that screwdriver sticking in there? Well, that just vibrated out. Sir, I'm holding this thing in my lap. I'll just shoot it like this. And you're back to a free gun. So you could cover a whole lot more stuff. But now this transitioned out when the old gunners finished up their tour duty and they rotated out. None of the new guys knew how to free gun. We weren't teaching that anymore. So this little thing here went away. Then they started mounting two at a time, side by side, vertical, horizontal. It didn't matter. They tried all kinds of stuff. And then they, I guess there towards the end, there was a couple of places that were putting a door mounted minigun on the left side with a 50 on the right side. Yeah, this is that gun's mounted on the right side. You can tell by the rotor head and stuff, the engine and all that mess up there, the breather. But anyway, that is one of the guns. That is, I don't know who that individual is there. Oh, I tell you what, that's DET2. That's the judge is the gun. Look to the left, lower left corner of that. Of course, with that minigun spitting out that much brass, tail rotor, brass and tail rotor was a problem. Down a little bit lower, that's the corner of the door. Bring your mouse down to that next corner. Right there, that's the corner of the screen to the left. That dark frame right there is a metal, and that is door screen, like a window, screen door, to keep the brass out of the tail rotor. If we had only had access to some 4-inch wastewater tubing like they use nowadays, and we could just run a long elephant nose down there under the, and dump the brass out that way. But back then, we didn't know. So we made this screen. Trashy, ain't it? But it works.
I was about to say that's ingenious. The big question is the 50. Where did the idea for the 50? I've got some of the door the rockets here, and of course for a while they had the remote operated minigun over here. But I've got a picture. Oh,
back up if you can to that. That picture on that minigun, I don't know where that was at, but the way it was parked, it's in the revetment. That right there is the twin 60s. When I first got there, that's what we had. And that's on the left side of the aircraft. And we had the twin 60s out there, and that's what the co-pilot shot. Now, the right side, those guns and that pylon sticking out there from just above the rocket pod, all of that would be gone because they would interfere with the 50. And the 50 was a much more powerful weapon. So the right side where the 50 was at, all that stuff was gone. On the left side, it was still on the lead bird, and that's what the co-pilot shot. Yeah, there you go. Now, this is one of the detachments down south. The reason I say that is see the large size of that ammo can? That is what I had at DET2, we used a 100-round can. The guys on some of the other detachments, they use these 1,000-round cans.
Wow.
You could put a bunch of damn ammo in it. Several disadvantages to that I did not like. One thing, the wind. You're out there in storms and flying, and the wind, that's a big sail sticking out there controlling your gun. The second thing is that when you stop firing, you still had a round in the chamber on the 50. Now, on the 60, it fired from an open bolt position, so you did not have cook-offs on a 60. There was nothing in the chamber. On a 50, when you first load it, you put the ammo on the top, slap the top down on it. Then on the right side, you could do it either way. But on the side, you pull the cocking lever back once, and it would feed the first round up to the top of the load chamber. The 50 was open in the bottom because that's where it ejected everything, and it ejects out the bottom. But when you cocked it the second time, that's when it fed the round in the chamber. As you fired, then each time it would feed around in the chamber, then it would fire the pin, and then the recoil would load the next one. But when you stopped firing, when you lifted off the butterflies, you still had a round in the chamber, and you get cook-offs. You out there in a big firefight shooting this thing a lot, barrel gets so hot, you get a cook-off in a 50. Two ways to deal with it. You could either on the back of the 50, between the butterflies, there's a round curled knob, and it has a little spring clip. When you pull that knob is spring loaded. When you pull it out, slide that clip down in there, that prevents it, that takes it off of automatic. It no longer will fire automatic. It's just push the button, bang. Then you have to cock it to feed another round. So if you were on that kind of a load on the 50, you could, stop firing, flip that darn clip off of there. So your pin would lock it and then fire one more round, and it would lock the bolt in an open position so that you would not have a round in the chamber, and hopefully it'll leave, you wouldn't have a cook-off that way. Different ways of doing it. In the 100 round cans that I had, pilot going in on a run, basically it's set up, getting in a run, I think about 70 knots, ball center, tilted over in the middle till the cross came down, pushed the button. Then when they bail out to the left, as I would come online with the 50, they could time it where, as I was shooting and they were flying off and I would still be on target, that it would take about 100 rounds to get out of there. And that would be enough time for the trail bird to be coming in on target. So everything is covered, and then we wag and wheel the things like this. So and as we were coming out, my 100 cam was empty. Well, by then the aircraft was around far enough that our left side gunner was going back on target. As the trail bird was coming in, I simply reached up there, took the bungee cord off of that 100 round can, threw the empty over, reached down the floor, got another can, put it up there, slapped it in the top, back down, 2 racks. And by then, we're setting up to come back in on another rocket run. And that's the way we did that stuff.
Oh, yeah. That the 50 or is that the minigun? Oh, that's the minigun with
tracers.
That's
the minigun there, yeah. Oh, so first, Walt Fraser's the one that did that. Chief Fraser, when the minis were first replaced in the 60s, we were having a lot of problems with the delinkers. The darn things that jam up. And anyway, so Walt was making the rounds of all the detachments to show the guys, some tricks and what they might be doing wrong and stuff, and get them fixed. He got up to DET2 and he wanted to be a gunner. Well, we kept him. Been to his call. When's Chief coming up? Well, we got a problem. We just a few more days. No problem. Just next week. Well, we put him in the darn cans on the ammo seat. Took him flying. Taught him how to shoot, free gun and stuff. Then when Ben Tui called, 2-3 weeks later, where's Fraser at? We're short a gunner. We're just going to keep him. And he spent the rest of his time on DET2. While he was up there, he was a character. He was a cool dude. Still is. While he was up there, he is the one that figured out how to put a minigun in the door. Now, you got to understand the minigun has electronics with it to control the feed motors and the firing and all this other stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there. It's not like just a regular gun, cock the thing, pull the trigger, and it goes bang. This has some electronics on it. So we took a 50 can and put all it, that's a pretty good shot. Put all of the electronics in that 50 can and sealed it up with silicone caulk so we can get wet, and had the cables run outside of that can up to the gun. Now, on the gun, you had 2 buttons. We had push buttons. Other guys had little switches, depending on what you could steal where you were at. We had push buttons. Cumshaw, I think, proper word. We had push buttons. So you would push the firing pin, then feed the ammo. if you pushed the feed first and it didn't shoot, that thing would wad up so bad. Anyway, you had to do the 2-step. So you'd learn to push the firing pin, feed the ammo, then let off the ammo, and then let off the firing pin. If that thing jammed and you had rounds in there, the only way you could get them out was to wait till you got on the ground, disconnect the feed belt so you get the ammo broken off right there at the top of the minigun, and then spin the barrels. As you spun that barrel, that ammo would fire until you got the last of the rounds out of those 2 or 3 barrels that's still jammed in there. Which is why a while ago, when you showed that picture of the airplane sitting on the ground, you could see the PCP in there, but the minigun, instead of being pointed straight, kind of down at the, or not completely straight, 45-degree angle down, straight to the front of the aircraft, it was cocked in towards the skid. So if you had a jam on that thing, and that's the way they parked it, you had to stand astraddle that gun, spin the barrels to get the thing clear. New officers that didn't know that, after we get back in, we're trying to clean shit up. They go in the ready room, filling out the paperwork, and all of a sudden, bang, 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 out here in the fire on the flight line. They come screaming out there, what are you idiots doing? Well, working. Anyway, that's why that other picture you had of that minigun short and pointing down crooked, I wondered who the devil did that. That was
there's one.
Oh, that's a door gun. Yeah. But now see, look at the triggers they've got on that thing. Is that is that 30 caliber?
It looks like it.
And then that's the switches they've got. Holy crap, what the heck did they do?
I've never seen anything like that before. Wow.
Also, the frame that's holding the gun has no bottom, because obviously you can see the bottom of the gun. So I wonder which detachment did that. But now see the 60 on this side, it's still, look right there where your mouse hand is at the bottom. Come on down right there. That is the foregrip on that 60. Excuse me. Also, that white pin right up here above that, right there, easy to pull that baby out of there, don't you think? And you got yourself a free gun.
Man. And also, look at the smoke y'all are carrying back here. Good Lord.
Yeah, he's only got 1 string. I had 2 in the back of mine. And you get so familiar with that stuff, you can actually, in the dark, I could reach back there when I was flying right side 50 crew chief. I could reach back there on either of those wires, and I knew what I had, because the bottom ones were hurt you stuff, frags, concussions, that sort of thing. Or up on and the Willie Pete's were first on that. So you had Willie Pete's, and then you had a little, you had the regular pineapples. We also had the apples, the round, and we had the concussion grenades. And anyway, that bottom line was what that was. The top line was smokes, and you line those up by color. And that's what I had on mine. But yeah, he just got one row there.
He's got a little mini row right here, it looks like, as well, of some. Definitely not as long as that back row.
Go right up from there to see this little, no, come on, straight up. Whoa, right there. That is a smoke grenade, and that's hanging on the edge of the pussy pole. I'm sorry, not supposed to use that word. But anyway, you had to have smokes there close, and most of the time you'd be flying along, cruising and stuff, especially low level, and you would already have smoke in your hand. And just flying along that, when you would see something, jerk the pin, throw the smoke. And then yellow smoke, right side, saw this, that, or the other, whatever it was. But yeah, that way you pitch a smoke out, and then the trail bird behind us could really inspect it because they had a chance to swerve over and see what we saw. So anyway,
that is
but yeah,
insane.
those are just mostly smoke grenades there.
I mean, there y'all are flying low level on the river and basically doing recon by fire in a helicopter. I mean, jeez. There was a good photo of you. I wanted to show the guys before we got into some questions. Your other Hollywood shot.
What about
all your 60, your M14, your thumper.
Yeah.
And
Now
there's
that particular, yeah, that's 100 round can there. That particular 50. Look at the air cooling vents on that thing. That is an aviation barrel currently in that gun. In fact, that's not even. I was flying the secondary. That's not my primary aircraft. That's the other guy's lead bird. My lead bird. I did not like the aviation barrel. It was very fast firing. I could fully understand why. If you're in a B-17, you got German coming at you. You only got a second to do it. That thing vibrated so bad. I mean, I could not hold it on target. That old ground pounder barrel, it'd be down around, what were they, 550, 600, somewhere in there. They were about the same as the stock M60s, but on the firing rate. But those things, because of the slower rate, it was a better rhythm for me. And that thing, I just could get on it. Yeah, I could really hold it on. Whereas this thing, it vibrated so much in such a short barrel, I couldn't control where all the stuff was going. And you go through ammo, man, that thing goes through ammo in a heartbeat. But anyway, just little differences. But yeah, that's my helmet back there in the back, ready to go.
that people have been asking. The big question is that, and most of the people that say not possible or that's bull crap. These are staged photos.
They're right about the bull crap. It was a bunch of bullshit.
They were talking about the weight.
All true.
The weight and the recoil being so much. What did y'all build to be able to? I mean, this is pretty ingenious of y'all to be able to get a 50 in an airframe, Huey no less, and keep it stable. I mean, how'd y'all?
The guy, his name was Sagami, Sagami, something similar to that. Anyway, he is the one that came up with this design, as I understand it. And it's mounted on the hard mount, which bolts to the bottom of the airframe. Yeah, back over there. Yeah, farther to the left of that. And then that pivoted right there. That whole thing just pivoted. And it made it doable. The Army, when they mounted 50 in it, they just made a square platform and bolted it to the floor, an aluminum floor with a 50, or it ripped it right out of there. And the shock absorbers on that were a couple of sections of truck tire tread, so that the mount would hit up against the side of the airplane. That way it wouldn't. Anyway, that was part of the shock absorber system. But when I laid down on the butterflies on that thing, the pilot had to lean into the gun. I mean, when he was flying, he actually had to have the stick, and just lean into it, because as flying along here, and I hit that 50, he had to make that stick and kind of come this way to get the aircraft going. If he just held it straight, shove you plumb over the side over there. But yeah, they'd have to learn to do that. And that's just part of the stuff that the pilot had to learn on firing the guns. That was the thing about the pilots that we had. It's a whole lot different flying a helicopter, delivering beans and weenies or something. When you're out there in a gunship, you are flying a weapons platform, Commander. Under your thumb, you have 2 3/4 inch high explosive rockets. You point them where you want them. You punch them off. You got 14 of them. The other weapon you have over here, controlled by your co-pilot, is first with a couple of machine guns, M60s, but now it's a minigun. Yeah, and he has the ability, you know, he's got his little sight up there all around on that thing, and he can point that all kinds of places over there. The commander of the aircraft knows where to put that minigun. He's got 2 door gunners back here behind him that he can direct their fire and where and how they put that fire. So that pilot up there is not just shooting rockets, he is flying a gun platform. And the better pilots, when they became that aware of what they were doing, that they weren't just simply firing a helicopter and shooting a rocket, when they became fully involved in that helicopter and knew what they had, we could raise some hell out there. You know, we had a lot of stuff going on. We had one pilot, I remember a little short guy, I can't remember, Fraser, Kaiser, one of those guys. Anyway, he was one that had come out of one of the premier training facilities. And I remember the first flight I had with him, he come out there got in the front lead aircraft, right side as a helicopter commander and stuff. You know, that was the fire team leader's position. You're supposed to know what you're doing. Hell, I got a new guy coming in my helicopter. What the crap, you know? And he starts talking, you know, a little bit, and we finally get in, take off and stuff. He was damn good. He goes rolling in, co-pilot's asking, you know, about stress. We go rolling in, he's punching a couple of rockets, and he's pulling out, and this old blade going, whoop, 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 with old Huey coming out of there. And about this time, the tip of the blade's pulling this many G's, and we come around here, watch your RPM, and watch the exhaust gas temperature too. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Now we're pulling this many G's, and we come out, and we angle our... This bird knew what he was doing. He was extremely good. When he got in the airplane, none of us worried about anything. I came back several times clearing rice paddy. We'd low level over the rice paddies. We get to the dikes, have to lift up over the dikes and the rice paddies, clip it off it, come back and have that shit in the skids, you know, and him flying along there just getting it.
Y'all were, I mean,
watching that stuff, you know, throwing out a smoke when we needed to. But the other thing is, when you're doing that, you're down so darn low like that, Charlie doesn't know where the hell you're at. And all of a sudden you come popping over him, you know, pitch that smoke out there where he's at. We go on screaming off. The trail bird pops up, does a pop-up maneuver, in which basically it was you're screaming along low level, and you drop the collective, jerk the stick back between your legs, and that old Huey just throw itself up in the air for a couple 100 feet. You go whop, 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 and then that thing, and about time it reaches the top, pull the collective back up, nose it over, and push the button. And Charlie doesn't know what's happening. And by the time they get out of there, then the lead bird's already back around here where we came out. So there's advantages to it, you know. But we did that kind of stuff all the time.
I mean,
there were other pilots. I was instrumental in sending back a lieutenant commander. If you didn't cut it, bud, didn't matter that your collar crap, that didn't mean nothing. He was a lieutenant commander there. I don't think he was up there maybe 3 weeks, around a month or a little less.
Wow.
Yeah. Sent him back to Bentui. Wasn't but a little week or so after that, we heard that he was sent back stateside.
Dang.
He was supposed to fly one night, and it was, by then nobody wanted it. I went back in the ready room. At that time we had enlisted ready room. Then we'd replaced our trailer. Anyway, I went back in the main ready room there where the pilots spent the night. And I told Mr. Ski, he was the FTL then, but this other lieutenant commander was supposed to be doing the flying that night. I told Lieutenant Ski, I said, airplane's down, can't fly it. I said, just take us off when we can't do it. And I went back out to there. He came out there. And I'm out there. I got the nose coming up, doing something, looking out there, working on something. And he jumped me about it, And I told him, I said, look, I said, we've got boats out. We've got SEALs out. I know we're going to be active tonight. I said, when we get scrambled, you're going to be on the right side. We're good to go. Not a problem. But if we're going to go out bullshitting around and that character's flying, no, airplane don't work. He got a Rogers DET. I said, I can fix it so it won't fly. And he just looked at me, turned around, walked off, went back to the ready room. Sure enough, that night we got scrambled out. Mr. Ski was in the right seat. We flew as a fire team like we're supposed to. That clown was in the left seat. Couldn't half-ass operate the damn guns he was supposed to be paying attention to. And that was one of the last times he flew it all day. So people say, did you ever send any gunners back? Oh, yeah. Gunners, pilots, it doesn't matter. So
that, that's kind of, the way, not to the extent of getting someone sent back, but that's kind of like SOG. Rank didn't matter. You had to be able to cut the mustard. And if you didn't, you were gone.
We had a situation up at Knob Bay one time, again, 4 airplanes, but we were kind of busy. And one of the airplanes took around and the engine finally made it back to base, but, couldn't crank it up again. They wanted to hook it out and take it back to Venturi. Well, we knew if shit hooks came in and took it, we'd be without an airplane for a week or so. So we told them, instead of doing that, why don't you just send us a motor, send us an engine up here? Oh, yeah, we got all the tools and stuff and the people, we can change it. While I was on Guam, I had a forklift license. On Guam, we worked on the C-121 Constellations because they were the forward control radar aircraft. Remember the big domes on top of these things? Anyway, that's what I worked on. Well, to handle those engines, 3350s, I think, twin 9-cylinder, 18-cylinder radials, big motor, you had to have a big forklift. Well, I had a forklift license. So I had, by the time we got the motor up there, they flew the motor up that day. We had the old engine out. I had already lifted it out. We had the old engine out. One of the pilots, and we had swarmed that damn airplane. One of the pilots, well, who's in charge of this? Well, you see Stan Lee right there and Joe Taylor. They're both jet mechanics, and I think Rick. Anyway, they'll tell you what to do and do. He's in it. Why? He's only E3. Yeah, just E3. He's only E4. I'm an officer. He's a jet mechanic, damn it. Do what he says. We'll get this thing hooked up. We were flying by dark. But the pilots finally realized you went with who knew what to do. And that's what we did. But we swapped out that engine up there and flying that thing by dark. And we weren't down an airplane. But weird shit. Now, some of the other guys on some of the other detachments, they'll tell you about some of the weird things that they had to do. Made it up as you went along. And nobody, looking back on it, nobody could look at you and say, you didn't do that right. Show me where it says that. It never said any of that anywhere. We made it up. Did not know at the time what kind of a legacy, I guess. HAL 3 disbanded, HAL 4 disbanded. Then you got Firehawks and Red Wolves and all. It's crazy. That's Fairbanks. That's Red Fairbanks down there. That's him. And he's got his fist sticking through there. And that's our drill, as you can see. We took a round that shot that damn thing out right over the co-pilot's head, and we never knew where that round came from. We were just cruising along, clang, and we got back, and me and Red had to change that plexiglass right there. And where
Holy
that round came from, I have no idea. None.
I mean, that's a mighty old tool you're working with there, isn't it?
Well, we didn't have battery stuff back then, and drop cords that long, you know. So yeah, that's just an old hand crank drill. And I don't know who took the. Oh, look at my wrist on the right side. That is, I'd already been shot down, I guess. That's a tail rotor chain.
Oh wow, those are famous amongst
Comes out of the helicopter you went down in, or a facsimile thereof if you can't get your bird back.
That is amazing. I was wondering if that was a Montagnard bracelet or what, and I'm glad to see that it's very few you see those out in the wild like that. That's
See if
I'm glad.
Fairbanks has got his. Oh, his arms behind her, can't tell.
Yeah,
Now on the left side, I know I'll be wearing a what is that? Timex, self-winding Timex. Again, no battery stuff back then, but it had that self-winding Timex on a Spidell Twist-A-Flex band. That way, it wouldn't you lose it with the buckles and stuff. But yeah, that's what we flight glasses.
They've got some good questions. I wanted to show one
Oh
more.
yeah, I'm sorry guys. I should be.
Oh no, that's why we're here, sir, is to hear you. I mean,
when firing the M60 from the door, did the door gunner just swing it and spray the jungle below? David Klaus. No, sir. No, sir. In 70, middle of 70, Captain Beckwith took over and the squadron, and he was going around the squadron to all the detachments feeding the people. So he came up to DET2, and we had this was in early summer, I guess. We just started on the pylon mounted M60s. Well, he comes up. He wants some gunners to shoot some free guns. He brought one of the crewmen with him and a co-pilot with him. He wanted to go out in the run set and see what these free guns would do. Well, I had enough stuff in my locker up at the shack, so I gave my keys to one of the guys. They went up there and they got the parts, the cans, and all the other stuff, grips and all. Came back down and built up 2 free guns. So we take off. I don't know, babe. And we had this little place, little VC Island. Everybody had their spot, you know. So we had this little VC Island. And it was just a little spot of dirt, and the river went around it. Is about what it amounted to. It wasn't on the main shipping channel. It was off to the north, other side of that, the shipping channel. But we would use that to test fire stuff on. Looks pretty similar. Anyway, we got over there and had to call in for clearance. Well, Captain Beckwith, I told him, I said, well, I can call in for you, sir. By then, I'd been there a little over a year. So I knew the territory. So I'd get on Moon River. This was SeaWolf 06. Moon River is hesitation 06. What the hell? Captain of the squadron. Designated by rank. 06 is captain, head man. So I call in from the back seat using his identifier, Moon River. Moon River comes back. SeaWolf 06, Moon River, go ahead. Moon River requests test fire small arms, little VC Island. And at the time, I gave them the coordinates, the 3, read a map left to right, bottom to top. So I gave them the 6 numbers. And then they came back, SeaWolf clear. And I hit the mic and I said, thanks, Moon River. I said, SeaWolf 06 will call when clear. And then I went back to intercom, Captain, we're ready. Okay, what you want to shoot at down there? And I said, well, you see that bomb crater down there? Oh, you going to shoot that bomb crater? No, sir. No, sir. That's huge damn bomb crater. See that tree over on the, oh, you going to shoot that? No, going to shoot that tree. See about 2/3 of the way up that tree there on the left, that limb sticking out? Yeah, I'm going to shoot that limb off. Huh? Go ahead, coming hot. And I laid down on it. Sticks and pieces of wood flying out. I mean, just, I put 200, 250 rounds at it. And it wouldn't come off. Damn, that's pretty good shooting there. So he circles around the other side and guest gunner, and I gave him choice which side he wanted. He was up there. I want to shoot the same thing. He cuts down on that damn tree limb, pieces and chunks, and it didn't come off. Captain's up there, damn, I'd fly with you guys anywhere. So in answer to your question, David, was it just spray and play? No, you pinpointed. You got good enough that you could do that from 800,000 feet. If you're down there, we never flew in the 400, 500, 600 foot range. You get shot there. Anybody hit you like that. Higher than that, hard to do. Lower than that, oh, that's kind of neat setup. Yeah. Different way of doing it. Yeah. And see, he's got the right finger, pinky finger is his trigger finger. Look at this little adaptation. You know why that block is in there on that 4 mount? Because they couldn't get a smaller clamp.
That's a beautiful. I mean, you guys are ingenious.
They did not have access to a smaller clamp. That's what they had. So they filled up the space so it would tighten up the grip. And you see how far that ammo is dragging out from that can?
Mm-hmm.
Now what the hell? Has he got a box?
Yes, sir. He's got a.
Yeah, that's a wooden box. That's a damn rocket box. He probably got more than 2,500, 3,000. Oh no, that's a regular ammo can. Yeah, when the ammo cans came packed like that, they had 2,000 rounds in them, but they had double rows. You had a divider, cardboard, and layers. And take all that shit out and throw it away, and you lace the ammo back in there. You get 2,500, 2,600 rounds in that same can. So that's what we carried. Now, because of the way, see the length of that ammo belt, that's why you had 2 feed springs up there to help feed that ammo in there as the op rod drove the thing forward, the bolt forward. But yeah, that block is in there on that because that's the only size clamp he had. Don't try to make shit complicated, guys.
That's what I was going to say. The maintenance section in here is amazing, guys. The Seawolves really, that's one thing he was talking about when we talk about the DVD after the questions to close out. The maintenance men getting their due is unbelievable in what they were doing.
Yeah, Jason was asking how
David had one more.
Oh, did y'all have white asbestos hand shoot to change it? Oh, yeah, asbestos gloves. I never used them. Were we online when we were talking about, or was that earlier? Anyway, about the M60s getting the barrel get so hot that had the asbestos gloves, and we had the barrel mounts on the extra barrels mounted on the back of the pilot seat with that rack holds 6 barrels in there. And instead of using the asbestos gloves, I just flipped it. There you go. That's a good shot right there.
Yeah,
that's a trail bird because you got ammo barrels on the right side, and on the left side the same way. Now look on that left side over at that zoom back out, wide out. Look on that ammo can. See how that gun is broken down? When we come back in, we'd take the barrel out of the gun and just hang it on the side of the can.
Oh.
That way you're safe. Is the safety on that gun, sir? Yeah, it won't shoot.
You got a barrel.
Yeah. But when that barrel would get so damn hot, and they literally would, you could almost see the rounds coming out of the end. It'd get cherry red and white. I would just flip the lever and chunk the barrel over the side. When you flip the lever up and just like that, it'd fall right out. Reach over on the back of the pilot seat, grab another barrel, stick it in, flip it down, rack the operating rod back, and you're ready to go.
That is crazy.
Now, right down there to the right, right there. See those are pop flares.
Oh,
We had a 50 can with pop flares. I don't know what you get in dozen, 18, 20 or something like that. With those, it was simply, you pull the cap off, put it on the other end, had that little spike in the cap. And when you put it on the other end, you just pop it off that flare and go. Well, we carried those when the ground troops were in trouble, boats needed help or something like that. You had to be aware of what you were doing with those things. What you do, you take the flare, pull the cap, put it on the other side, and then you would take that flare, and instead of hitting it with your hand or something, you go down on the side of the floor of the helicopter. You'd hold it level, parallel with the horizon out there. You don't want to shoot it up in the blades, but you just hold it level like that and pop it, hit that thing up against the side of the airplane, and they'd shoot out. And you had to shoot them level if you were up there. You didn't shoot them out like that. But most of the time to do that, we'd have to go up to like 1,000 feet, 800 to 1,000 feet, because when you pop the flares out, then you want them to burn all the way down. Anyway, that's what those flares are for.
wow.
Guys, I'm not paying attention. We get off on a picture. You see something that people don't understand. Just a couple of feet above. How low do you usually get? Low enough to get down palm fronds and the skids and the rockets. Have you ever tried to clean palm fronds out of a rocket pod, get jammed up in there? You got to understand now, the front of that rocket up in that barrel is V-shaped. When you jam a damn palm frond down in there, it wedges in. It's crap to get that thing back out of there. So, but yeah, we get low.
Did you ever get any stick time?
Yes. Quite a few of us did. And the reason being that if one of the pilots got hit, the pilot seat had latches on the back of them. So you'd pull the latches, and what it did, it unlatched the two hooks on the bottom of the front of the seat. The back was a pivot pin. So the back contact points or connection points on the helicopter on that seat was just a swivel. So when you pull those pins, that seat would just fold back, pull the straps, drag the injured out. Then you could either put the seat back up, crawl across the console, and help the hopefully remaining pilot get the airplane back. But yeah, there's quite a few of us had stick time. Plus, in high school, Civil Air Patrol, J3, that sort of thing. What else we got? Standard operating procedure. Not really. It was more a lot of personal preference as far as, and also your position in the helicopter. I carried a 45 as a personal survival weapon. I carried it in a shoulder holster. Then I had my Mae West. Then I had my chicken plates. As a pilot, and I had my K-bar strapped to my lower left leg, just above the boot, so I could get to it, if needed to. Pilots, that didn't work because of the seating position and what they were locked into. So your personal equipment, if you carried what you carried, that was totally up to you. I remember before I left, a couple of months before I left, I had one gunner I trained, and we had a vest that had your survival gear in it, that had your little snake bite suction cup and all that kind of shit in it, like you're going to be out in the jungle for 10 or 15 days or something like that. In the run set, we never had that kind of problem because we were in close contact with somebody all the time, anyway, and we were not in that much of a, if we went down, there wasn't much survival chance anyway. We had, like some of the other people, the Seawolves had wanted posters out on them. And at the reunion, there's some of the guys from some of the detachments still have those original wanted posters from the North Vietnamese that said, you know, you catch a sea wolf, you get this. So weird. Anyway, he wore that vest all the time. I told him, I said, you know, realistically, in one sense, it's not necessary. But my thing on training the gunners, when you come out on a scramble, you had a certain procedure, a certain number of steps you had to do. Do those by rote, same way every time, step by step by step. Don't do this time and first next time, and then you change it again later. Scramble bell goes off 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. It raining like hell. You go running out, you know, and hitting this damn rain wake you up in a hurry. But you go running out there, you forgot what you're doing. You're not paying, you know, you can't do that. So step by step by step. That's what I pounded into them. If you wanted to wear that vest, fine. Do it the same way every time. That way, we get off the ground. We get off the ground in less than 3 minutes because everything was ready. People say, well, what about, you know, your pre-flight? No, we did that when we came back in and fueled up, sat down in revetment. We'd go over the airplane and get everything ready. When it got to the point, when I first got there in officer's ready room, and it was small, just the end of a Quonset hut, barely had enough room for the 4 cots and a little bit of room for the officers. And we had a status board, and I think there was a bathroom there on the left side of it there. And then the enlisted guys, you might run across a couple of pictures there that show a little white trailer sitting out there, a bunch of ammo boxes and stuff around. Anyway, that was the enlisted men's, the gunner's ready room when I first got there. But that we changed that shit around so much. As long as you did everything coming out there the same way, you did not put the guys on the ground in jeopardy of not making it back home. And our function was to make sure the guys on the ground got back, whatever it took, whatever was necessary to make sure those boats got clear, to make sure the SEALs got on the boats that got clear. That's what we did. And plan, standard operating procedures, you made it up as you went along. Pretty damn loose. Pretty loose. How did they get?
Any night combat missions?
The reason the Seawolves were formed was because the Army couldn't, a lot of the Army pilots could not fly at night, and they had other priorities. But we did the PSYOPs missions with the speakers. Mm-hmm. We did not. There might have been one time we tried the Spotlight and the Firefly. The rest of the time it was just PSYOPs. We did a lot of H&I. I've forgotten what that was. We called it harassment and irritation, whatever H&I stood.
Harass and interdiction, or I forgot what the last is.
Yeah, harassment and irritation. Anyway, we'd go out and do that kind of stuff. Then we did the mason jar with the grenade, you know, pull the pin, drop those over, did all that kind of stuff. Had to use that because the chow hall got pissed off. They lost too many of the small glasses.
Nice.
But there, you know, you just made shit up as you went along and you modified it. But let's see, what's some of the other questions? Guilty. That was me. I was the one that started the peace sign on the side of the helicopter. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron bestowed upon me the honor. He has recently acquired a helicopter from a museum that actually served in country in Vietnam. and it had one of those cover plates on the side of that powwow to cover up the hydraulic connections and stuff. He asked me, and he sent it to me. He sent me that cover to paint that piece side on. I tried my damnedest to duplicate exactly what we did there. Now you got to understand the color yellow that thing was. We back then we only had oil-based paint. Well, it's oil-based paint nowadays is a little hard to run across, you know. So I went back and researched the color pigmentation, the chemical mix of the yellow that we had access to back then. Uncle Sam bought tons of it. So that wasn't too hard to find out. But then you transfer that over to what current color of Rust-Oleum, because Rust-Oleum was a primary supplier back then, but what current color could I go down to the store and get that would be the closest to what we used back then? And I had tried a couple of different colors. I had 2 cans here, and I was about ready to use one of them. Then I thought, you know, we've got the darn bird on the Midway out there in San Diego. So I contacted one of the guys out there about the colors and stuff. They got in touch with the maintenance guys and chased down the military. And anyway, mil specs being what it is, I painted the front of that cover. Now, when you flip it over, and Aaron's probably got pictures, when you flip it over, there is still dirt inside of that cover. Honest to God, there's still dirt in there. Now, if that and this now from this point, folks, this is pure speculation on an old man's part. That bird served in Vietnam. After it served, then it went to a museum where it sat for I don't know how many years. Aaron might, but it sat. I don't think that thing accumulated that dirt sitting in there on a concrete floor. I was extremely careful not to even get a drop of water on that thing, much less wash it off. Now, on the front side presented a bit of an issue because later on they had, the military had added a mil spec number and some, you know how they do that kind of shit. And this real narrow, fine, what you might call pinstriping tape. And of course, it's military tape with glue that would hold aircraft carrier together. So that was a bit of a challenge to get that off without destroying something else. I can tell you, though, that the original military zinc paint that's on that thing withstands paint thinner, paint remover, because the first time I stripped that little plastic shit off, I got pictures I could send you if you want to see it. I stripped those letters off very, very carefully. Plastic razor knife, didn't want to use a razor to scratch the paint. So I used a plastic knife, scraped all that shit off of there, used some goof off. I thought I got the glue off. Got everything down and did my first base coat. You could read them friggin' letters like you wouldn't believe. That damn glue did not go away. So I had to get serious to get that glue off and use a little heavier chemicals and stuff. Did not even phase that zinc chromate. I took that damn glue off there. That thing is still green as a damn avocado underneath. It didn't even slow that stuff down. So anyway, got it all cleaned back up again. Got the base coat on there. And I told Aaron, I said, I couldn't go to the chow hall and get a bean can because that's how you make the circle. Just go to the chow hall and get a bean can, draw a circle. So you had to use a plate. And then got the circle drawn, got everything else done. Sent it back up there to him. And it's as close as we can get to the original yellow as I was able to chase down. Gloss black, I'm figuring it's gloss black, so Rust-Oleum gloss black. But he has the helicopter, and he intends to put it on there. But I tried to make it as original. But as far as I know, I am the first one to put it on up there because I had my helmet painted yellow. Other pictures you might go back through, you'll see sometimes where the peace symbol, instead of being trimmed in black, it might be trimmed in a blue. We didn't have any black paint. Well, got this. It's pretty dark. Squirted it. But yeah, Aaron, he let me do that for him. I appreciate the heck out of that. But as far as I know, I'm the first one that put it on there. And then the model we have out on the Midway, Gary put the peace emblem on that one too. And it sticks out. I mean, it does. We were coming out of Vaughn Tao one day, flown down in there for something. We come out of Vaughn Tao, and it's a serious airport down there. They had all kinds of shit going on. Unlike Nah Bay, which is just, sometimes you pay attention. Vaughn Tao, very spit and polish. We're taking off, we're lifting off. Tower calls in. Seawolf, I really like your sign. And the pilot hits the button. What? And the tower comes back on. I really like your sign. I reached up there and grabbed the FM, turned 10-4 on the sign, thank you, and flipped back off. But yeah, that sign got a lot of attention. Had one guy said, well, and the yellow helmet too. Well, don't you think they'll be shooting at you? You see that yellow, you idiot? They're shooting at the friggin' helicopter. You think they're going to pinpoint me down there? They're already shooting at us. So I wasn't too worried about being sniped from an aircraft, from somebody on the ground because of a yellow helmet.
Did you catch any flack from any higher ups with the peace sign on the aircraft of any sort, or?
Not that I remember. No. It was kind of a dark humor, black humor kind of a thing. You think about it, you got a peace sign on the side of a helicopter with a 50. There it is. With a 50 caliber machine gun barrel hanging across the front of it. Get a piece of this, mother. So yeah, a little bit of dark humor.
Jason just sent me that.
The only thing about Jason did. The only thing about that sign is still shiny. In Nah Bay, it wouldn't be shiny 3 or 4 days. Then get sandblasted.
Trying to get all
questions.
Scott Gross, while I'm pulling this up, did you prefer the M250 or M60?
They both had advantages. The 60 was a lot of fun if you were just out bullshitting around, because you could shoot a lot. You had 2,500 rounds. You 6 barrels backing up the one you already had in there. You could burn up a lot of stuff. Just because you had that extra ammo. On the 50, I only fired APIT. When I first got there, firing ball and tracer like everybody else. And Bob Arnold had already left. Him and Steve had already been killed. And had a special op going one night. And one of the guys that came up from Bentui, one of the officers, something about the 50, the ricochets and stuff. Well, yeah, you get ricochets off 50 out there, not high tide and water and all. Well, we're going to restrict the 50. You can't fire the 50. And what the hell? I can't. Anyway, after that, I never fired ball and tracer. I always fired APIT, armor piercing incendiary tracer. 2 blue rounds, 2 gray round or silver, and then 1 silver with a red tip. So you had armor piercing, incendiary, and then the incendiary tracer. But that's the way it was loaded. The thing about that stuff, and I've had black ponies call it. We'd be putting in a strike on something, black ponies spotted something once and fire on it. Come up, we'll put some 50 on it. See if you're taking fire. No, that's just the 50 exploding down there. Those rounds would explode when they hit, because they were, you think about armor piercing, had that rod in it. The incendiary was the white peat. So when it hit, that flash would go off as it burned, and then the explosion as the rod went on through, piercing. But yeah, get accused of taking fire several times. And there was a few times, especially at night, it was easier at night, be shooting at something, a bunker or something. Oh, those extra flashes and you stop for just a second, extra, you modify your point of aim, and come over there on that. But yeah, did I put that? No, I didn't. And then come back over on him. But yeah, the APIT exploded when it hit, but it did not ricochet. So out there in the swamps and stuff, I never fired ball and tracer after that. Questions? We got any other questions?
Someone was saying, did the 50 come off of the wing of a Mustang? I'm not sure if I remember hearing about that.
The 50 caliber was used on the World War II birds. Mustang. He is talking about the.
I guess the P-51.
They had 50 calibers on them, but the M2 is the ground pounder version. And that's the same thing you'll see mounted up on top of tanks and all that stuff.
I was about to say, y'all probably got them from an APC or something.
The aviation barrel that was on it is shorter, plus it has a longer cooling jacket around that barrel. Firing faster, gets hotter faster, dissipate the heat. But those were used, again, in the bombers and long-range aircraft. The 50s that were in the aircraft, the fighter aircraft, they had the shorter barrels too. They would just about have to have had the shorter barrel, aviation barrel.
Did the tracers on those 50s and the rounds, did y'all ever catch fires out there in the jungle? Any forest fires, so to speak?
No, because the Delta where we operated was swamp. Lots of water. Whereas the only chance you would have to do that would be up in the highlands. And with Uncle Sam flying those 50s, salting the clouds to make it rain, I don't think so. However, I will tell you this, in Fort Rucker, gunner training down there, had to go out flying at night. Adrian Carr, big, tall, lanky black guy, cool as shit. Anyway, he was firing that night, and he set the target on fire. One of the ricochets from that 60 on the side of the hill down there in Fort Rucker actually set the target on fire. Guess who scored the highest score that night on the aviation firing? He could see the target, it was lit up. He had set the damn thing on fire, and he just laid down on it, The rest of us would start shooting, and in the flash of the muzzle of the gun, you couldn't hardly see down there. But yeah, when he hit a rock or something, went up there and got that target set on fire, and he just laid down on it. But in the jungles, Vietnam, no. Photo of what?
I think he was talking of his work.
Wish I could post a photo. Yeah, tell him that Jason posted one.
Yeah, we were just getting it up. I think that was a while ago. I'm getting to some of the. We're getting towards the end of them though. So there are a few good ones though that I was actually gonna ask myself. Let me see here. Jason was curious. Did y'all work with Cobras? Cobra gunships?
We did not work with them. There were a few times when we had to go out and cover the wreck of them, but we did not really coordinate any strikes with them or anything. That was the difference in the Cobras. If the Loach survived the initial contact, if they found Charlie or whatever and they didn't get shot up themselves, the Loach would go out, then the Cobra would come in. Well, the Cobra had all kinds of firepower going forward. And as soon as they turned off, they were vulnerable. Charlie would jump up in and just knock them out of the air. And that's what happened down there with the ones we covered. Whereas with the Seawolves, the gunships we had, and in the beginning, the commanders told them they didn't want the Cobras. Seawolves had a chance to get them, didn't want them. Couldn't cover. You could not cover with the Cobras the way you could with the gunship, the B models. And the Army had the C models, same way. The Cobra's area of fire was a narrow cone in front of it. The gunship's cover of fire. I loosen my monkey strap, get that thing strung out, and hang out there shooting up under the tail boom. Jump up, Charlie. Try to shoot at us, and we're doing this one-handed with a 60. People say, "Oh, you can't shoot a 60 with one hand." I did it. Lots of people I knew did it. They can tell you how they did it. Don't forget, you're flying. You got 80 or 90 knots of wind. You get that 60, you're already holding it sideways. The air is going to help hold it up. Plus, you're pumped full of adrenaline, young and bulletproof. Hold my beer, watch this.
That is
guys. Don't take
that's we love it, sir. I mean, that is shit, hanging out, shooting under the tail boom. I mean, good Lord.
We were gonna what you were doing there, Medal of Honor recipient, Larry Taylor. Don't know that one. Don't know. Medal of Honor recipients, we had Mike Thornton at the reunion last September.
Yeah,
a few months ago. Him and four other SEALs.
Maybe Jason will elaborate. Maybe I skipped over something earlier on. Some of these were later.
Yeah, if
later on
questions get out of sequence,
it's all right. We've got a few more here before we close out for the day. Oh, this is a good one that'll actually get into a bit. And I was going to ask if Jason didn't. What was it like working with the SEALs, and what was the relationship between SEALs and the Seawolves?
We would come back in and say we'd been out one night, contact and stuff. You got to understand SEALs are crazy as hell anyway. So they'd go out and they'd play war, get a little, firefight started out there. Yeah, that's one of the Sea Lord birds. Sea Lord birds had the stars on the back, and they had different emblem on the nose. And they were not a gunship. You don't see any rockets or guns on that, just door guns. And they were used to haul supplies and the SEALs, inserts and extractions and stuff. We would be out on a mission. Next day, SEALs would come up, case of steaks, thanks to the chow hall, cases of beer. We'd do a cookout that evening, and they would come up and all that happened all the time. PBR is the same way, and we'd get a gang of up there at the flight line, and we used a 55-gallon drum cut in half as a grill. So we get the boat guys up and the SEALs up, and we just pitch a party. Now the ones that were on duty couldn't drink beer, but we're all together, and hopefully the scramble bell wouldn't ring or while we're doing that. And any patrols or something we put off till later. But yeah, they bring anything we wanted. But the relationship with the SEALs, there you go, typical, right there. Looking at zoom out, back off a little bit. Okay, this is between. See that water tank, the water buffalo back there? Yeah, that, and then the two buildings on the side. That's up there at the officers' quarters. What the crap? Anyway, you can see one of the SeaWolves there in flight suit, and then on the left side, extreme left, you can see another flight. Yeah, right there's a flight suit. It's civilian clothes. I have no idea who that might have been.
Maybe a 3-letter agency guy, or
I've got pictures, and I think they're up on the seawolf.org website of a CIA bird flying out of Nave. They, somebody asked one time that did they come in very often? Quite a bit. Us being only 8 miles out of Saigon.
Yeah.
So easy access for the senators and big wigs and important people. Now, this is the picture taken off one of the LSTs. See the catch web right here at the bottom of the picture? That's what that webbing is right there, so you don't fall off the side of the ship. Or when you do fall off the side, it'll catch you, hopefully. But yeah,
And
that's
are these the boats the SEALs would be using, or are these
yeah,
some of the brown water Navy guys doing?
that's those the SEALs would use whatever.
Wow.
Oh, up there at Knob Bay, they mounted a 105 recoilless rifle and a Boston Whaler one time. A nice way of putting it, one of the SEALs said, I won't say exactly what he said, but it would clear your sinuses.
Good God Almighty.
Boston Whaler. Anyway, like I said, SEALs were crazy. Then they'd call us, and we were stupid enough to go in there with them, So the worst ones, I'll say the worst ones in a loving kind of way, were the medevacs.
Ooh.
It did not matter what was going on the ground. If there was somebody wounded down there, they were going in. Well, hell, if they were going in, we were going to be right there with them. They weren't going in without us. When you talk to them, oh, trying to make another, hell no, we're going straight in they go. And we're up there going, trying to keep the jungle down, with the, while they get them out of there. But yeah, they were the crazy ones. They had one notch over the SEALs about judgment calls. They didn't have any judgment. They were, if the guy on the ground was hurt, they were going in.
It is amazing though, as bravado ridden and braggadocious as the SEALs may be called and given that reputation. In the past 3 SEAL books that I've been cramming for guests we're having, and as well as for you, they every time they got in trouble, and it's mentioned in the book, they without a doubt thank the Seawolves. They don't know who it was or the tail number, but they say, thank God the Seawolves, or I would not be here writing this book right now.
We had 5 SEALs at the reunion. They were the guest speakers there at Oklahoma City. And all 5 of them were standing up there. And Michael Thornton with his medal on his neck. And they showed pictures of one operation they talked about that night. I think it was DET5, but the one operation that night is the only thing they talked about. And I know when they first went up on stage, I'm back there and taking pictures. I take a lot of pictures. So I'm wandering around the banquet hall. And some of the employees, I get to know them after be there 3 or 4 days. Some of the heads of the departments, I walked by him and I said, now you're going to hear a bunch of bullshit. And the SEALs are just, so I'm walking on down on the other side and I'm taking pictures and they're all talking to SEALs about, oh, if you guys hadn't come out and did this, and showing pictures of their boat with the coxswain up there. The Navy guy had come out in the SEALs boat to get them. And there was gunshots where the wheel is here and the gunshots had hit the console right above it. How he got out of there, they didn't know, couldn't explain it, but he came in and got them and hauled them out. And they were thanking the Seawolves for doing all this stuff. I went walking back by the hotel employee. He was the head of anyway. I walked back by him and his eyes were like, grapefruit. And I just looked at him. I said, told you it's going to be a bunch of bullshit. And his jaw just dropped, But the thing about the Seawolves, as stupid and as wild as these stories sound, and the SEALs too, we don't have to make anything up. Some of this crap is so crazy that the first time somebody hears it, it's got to be stupid. It's got to be wrong. It can't be true. But shooting M60 with a little finger, one-handed, hanging out the side of a helicopter at night. Guys in the white coats are just around the corner. But that's what we did. Walt Frazier, back to him to say, he is the one that put the minigun in the door. When the first reunion I was able to make was 2012 in Portland, Oregon. And I met him out there again, first time since December of 70. But he said that I was the one that welded up the mount for the gun. And I have no recollection of that. Later, though, I have found pictures that one of the guys took. I think Joe Taylor took them, got them out of his stuff, of me and Walt Frazier up there at my airplane looking over that 50 mount. I mean, and the dates match, all that stuff matches. And I'm beginning to think, well, yeah, maybe me and him were up there and he was telling me what he wanted. And I took a 50 mount and made the cradle for the minigun. Couple things real quick. First time he took that thing out, the pin that holds it in, like the guns are mounted to the thing. The pin that holds it in wasn't secure, and he laid down and it come off in his lap. It came. He was holding it. Anyway, needless to say, it jammed when he, got back, got that fixed. Didn't put any flash suppressors on it until after the first night flight. Come back in and blind, he couldn't see, so he put flash suppressors on all the barrels. So little details like that you worked out as you went along.
Holy cow!
How could you make up that kind of crap? Nobody believes it. Nobody believes it. So,
oh my God! I think I found one of the photos you were talking about. Y'all had a 55-gallon drum. Y'all as a
under the tower. That's it. Oh, yeah. The guy in the white T-shirt back here that's a pilot too.
Oh my God!
That's another pilot. So the difference between the gunners and the pilots, depending on what seat you sat down in the airplane.
This is hilarious. I love that y'all.
That right. He is one of the football players that played ball at Annapolis with Roger Staubach. And because look at the size of him. I mean,
he's a hoss.
On that dude. You try to put him in the front seat and tuck off in the LST. Nope. So we got them all at Nave. And but yeah, that's the 50-gallon bucking barrel.
That is wonderful. And there's I will hit these last two questions or a few questions here. But I wanted to see, there were two. There's an alligator picture, but what are y'all putting in the minigun right here, or fixing?
That is the trail bird, and I can't. Oh Lord, I can't remember the names on the faces. Anyway, this is just more or less normal maintenance. They had something on. See, he's working on the Sagami mount right there. So they were having some kind of an issue. It looks like he's changing the pin. Could have been changing that swivel pin right there. Anyway, he's working on something right there on the mount.
Man, that's
and then they got all, and that's all the mini. See that 50 right here on the bottom with the wires coming out of it? Just that right there. That's the control box with the wires, that black and white wires running up to the mount right there, and then the guns laying over on the left, completely disconnected. But you can see the cannon plugs off the pintail. Yeah, the pigtails right there. You just about had your point on it, right behind the boot of your shoe. Those cannons plugged into the. Anyway, that's the complete setup right there. Man. But they were having issues with it, and he's got it stripped down, and you can see how tight the uniform SOP was.
Yeah,
flight suit hanging on the right side of the airplane there.
You'll notice that in the DVDs of how loose the standards were. One more picture before I get to the last of the questions. Okay. What in the heck is going on here? These are your pictures, right?
So if you go out hunting early in the morning, these gators are laying up on the side bank of the rivers, sunning themselves, getting warm. Well, you come flying low level around that little river, and them laying up on the bank, so you shoot them. And Dave Farley was out at reunion there in September in Oklahoma City, and he said he was flying with me one day, and I forgot about this. He said, we came around the bank, I'm on the 50, and he said, there's this big gator laying up on this log. He said, I nailed that thing with that 50 by 5 or 6 shot and just shot his head off. Said the damn gator rolled back over in the river and we couldn't get it. He said, I was so mad because we couldn't get that gator. Anyway, I think this is one that the trail bird got. They got the gator. And of course, you got those cargo hooks on the bottom of the airplane. Well, we carried, a couple of pieces of rope and a grappling hook. So they hooked that thing right under the chin like that and come flying back into the base. Here's a damn alligator hanging under the helicopter. People coming out there looking at stuff. We call Papa Son. Now, that one on the right there's a big lizard.
I was about to say, I was noticing some claws on that bad boy right there.
We didn't get that, the lizard and the crab and stuff. But the gator called Papa Son, and he would skin it out. Well, we'd give Papa Son everything but the tail. And we'd have barbecue. And again, back to the seals and the boats. Hey, guys, we got some fresh meat. Bring the beer. And we'd have a cookout. Papa Son, of course, is rich. He gets the hide and the claws and everything else. But then when he came to get that, he had these other things that he got. But yeah, I deer hunted. There was this one big buck down there out of the banana orchard, and I shot so damn many times that thing. He was good. He'd hit and he'd bounce sideways. I mean, he never ran in a straight line. Yeah. But yeah.
Dinosaur hunting.
Uncle Sam's high dollar equipment when we're out there.
I love that. Galil Hub says dinosaur hunting from helicopters. That's a good one. I like that, Galil. That's great.
But I'd forgotten about that episode until Farley told me about that. Oh, yeah. But he said I was really pissed about that. I couldn't get my gator after I shot him off that log.
Oh, man. David's curious, was your Seawolf UH-1B Huey equipped with a 40 millimeter turret on the nose?
No.
No.
We had the 79 outside, but mostly they didn't have the range, as I understand. I mean, you had to be up high and let them float in. But with the rocket, you had more range. Plus the 50 had range and the 60. So we had better coverage. Without that, it would have meant that something else would have had to have been sacrificed as far as weight. Now, there at Knob Bay, we could carry 900 pounds of fuel, which was more than they could carry off the LSTs when they launched. So we were already, pretty. We had a couple of airplanes that we had to cut back to 800 because the motors just were not strong enough. Some of those early ones they just didn't have it. They're just weak. Questions?
Yeah, that was the Judge. Actually, I saw the on it. It was hidden by the other piece.
Yeah.
Those same ANM2 air-cooled guns he has were used on H model Hueys as well as limited numbers. I believe.
That's the ANM2. That's the aviation barrel and cooling jacket M2. So that's the aviation 50.
Oh, okay.
ANM2, different term, aviation 50.
Okay. Learning something every time. Every time. Jason was curious, with all of those dangerous missions, how many aircraft were going down, lost?
I don't know. I think that information is on seawolf.org as far as the aircraft inventory and what happened to it. In fact, Mike was going through that stuff the other day. Mike Dobson. He was going through some of the records and how the aircraft were documented when they were no longer a Seawolf. Crash, of course, written off, that sort of thing. But there were some terms in there. He was looking it up, but I'm pretty sure the information is on seawolf.org.
And I've posted the link in as well the photo section and as well as the war story section in the chat notes, and link the DVD into the notes. We've hit our questions. There are a few people wanting to say thank you and how much they've enjoyed you coming. But would you like to? Do you have anything you'd like to say or speak about before we close out? I've had you over the hour and a half. We're almost at 2 hours now.
Doesn't matter. I mean, it's up to you. All I'm doing is sitting here looking out at the lake. Water's still muddy with all the rain the past week, especially up on the edge of the mountain. But sometimes I get distracted depending on what's going on out there. Setting up here, this is weekend type area. During the winter, not even weekend. So there's virtually nobody here. I look out here, I've got pictures of otter right down here at the edge of the beach. Caught a damn bass. I mean, make you jealous kind of. Anyway, sat down there, I got pictures of him eating it. You could just watch the darn thing get shorter. Eagles live back here, osprey. I've got pictures of a couple of beaver over here on the beach next to me. Red-tailed hawk, he was in the front yard this morning. So I don't have any rabbits.
No,
you know, I'm up here by myself. Oh yeah, groundhog. Up here by myself, watching all this stuff. Then on the weekend, all that disappears, and the dogs and the kids show up, and the boats get active. But I'm sitting up here by myself and enjoying the heck out of it. So time really doesn't mean a whole lot. So
well. We appreciate you.
Now, as long as you don't interfere with the NASCAR schedule, you're
okay. I definitely won't do that. I won't get between you and your NASCAR. That I promise you that.
So being North Carolina, you know, that's
oh yeah, that the birthplace. I mean, heck, you gotta enjoy.
When I was going to high school, there in Hidnight, we lived out of town. Everybody lived out. But anyway, just on the other side of White Oak Ridge, over at Moravian Falls, was Junior Johnson.
Oh, and wow.
All them chicken houses didn't have chickens in them. But me and Jaylee Marlowe and Arthur Morrison, we used to ride our bicycles where you push them up the hill. But going down the other side, man, you could it's an experience going that mountain. And it's just crooked roads, you know, all down through there. But yeah, NASCAR grew up here with all that stuff.
Sounds like you.
Anyway, sorry guys, we got to seeing pictures and then pointing out things in the picture, and then I don't know if we're off track. Did we have a particular subject we're supposed to talk about seawolves? Oh, the seawolf video, Scramble Seawolves. Bud mentioned that the new version has both the Blu-ray and the DVD. Anyway, Jeff and Shannon are just in the final stages this spring of completing another documentary, this one being about the Brown Water Navy. So when you see the pictures of the PBRs and the Alpha boats and all that stuff, that is what Shannon and Jeff are working on right now. We were going to talk a little about the background, Jeff. Jeff is he spent all this time in surfing. He traveled internationally, filming international surfing competition events. He's very, very good. His father-in-law is a plank owner of the Seawolves. So when he married Shannon, then his father-in-law, somehow you know how it works out. Oh, dear son, won't you think about this? Well, that's how Scramble got made. First, they didn't think they could do it. They were looking for producers to do it for them. And they were finally convinced that they had the ability to do it themselves. So Arbello Entertainment, Jeff Arbello, has produced Scramble Seawolves. They are currently producing a documentary about the Brown Water Navy. Now, there's two task force that sometimes get confused. Task Force 117, Task Force 116. 117 primarily was a coastal interdiction, in other words, out in the saltwater. 116 was primarily brown water up in the rivers. So we were in the Delta, inside of Vietnam. So 117 saltwater, 116 inside. They're concentrating on 116, the brown water Navy. On Scramble Seawolves, one of the common questions is, was that scripted? That whole movie thing, was that scripted? The answer is yes. Mike Rowe was hired to be the narrator of this documentary. That is the only part that was written down. Otherwise, the cameras were set up. Jeff and Shannon and whoever was there, 2, 3 cameras going at a time. We would, just like you see on the disc, we'd sit down there just like you and I are talking now, and we talked. And that's what the documentary is made of. Then we sent all the pictures, whatever background information, we sent that to them, and Jeff put it together, and he did an excellent job. But I tell you this, no, not being derogatory towards Scramble, the first one, this one I think will be better. He hesitated. He wasn't sure. First one ever. He was looking for, Shannon too, they were unsure. But now that they have Scramble under their belt, I really think the Brownwater doc is going to be better than the first one.
It's a big statement coming from you, especially. But I mean, that they've got a lot of stuff to work with.
When we were on the Midway and the premiere was showing, we got about halfway through it, and my intent was that while that movie was showing, I was going to be going around taking pictures like I normally do. So I was back at the back of the flight deck, and the movie was being projected up against the other side over there, and Jeff was standing back there. And about halfway through, I just walked over and I put my hand up on his shoulder and I said, from what I've seen so far, I said, you have done a hell of a job. And he said that he and Shannon had brought their life vests with them in case we got mad at them for doing a shitty thing and we were going to throw them over the side. I told him I didn't think there was any danger of that. So, but anyway, I really think that the Brownwater dock that they are finishing up this spring, I really think that it's going to be good. I really think it's going to be good because first one he didn't know and it won. Second one he knows better. He knows what to look. See, that's the other thing. The first one going through, back to the original statement, nobody knew the Seawolves. What the heck is this? Jeff didn't know. And it was only after they had gotten into this that they really started learning the story of what the squadron was all about. Now, the other thing about the Seawolves, none of us knew each other. And what I mean by that at any one time, there was only, in the 5-year period, and while I was there in 69 and 70 was the peak, but at any time, there was never more than, say, like 450, a little less than 450 people in the squadron at one time. Now, at the beginning, it was fewer people. And then after I left, they started staging down. But when I was there, they just went to 9 detachments, and you had those people on the detachment. Now, if they sent you out to Det 6 or Det 1 down south or wherever, you knew the people that you flew with on that detachment. You had 2 airplanes, so you had 2 pilots, 2 gunners, so you had 4 pilots, 4 gunners. You're supposed to have a full complement of 2 sets of crews. So you should have had 8 and 8. That way you got 4 pilots on, 4 crew on, 4 off, and 4 off. Then at the end of 24 hours, you're supposed to swap. We never had full complement of people. I don't care where you're at. But because of that situation, the only people you knew were those that were just right around you. I spent 1.5 years at Nabe. I had more people up there than most of them did. But Mike Dobson, all of them really, Tom Phillips, all those guys, I never knew them until I started going to the reunions. And since then, I've tried to make all the reunions. Um, and there's a couple of mini reunions in Branson, Missouri, that's held in between. The reunions started out being every 2 years on the even year, but then 2020 came along.
Mm.
You know, I saw a joke the other day. Satan is sitting there, and God's on the other side, and they're playing cards, playing poker. And Satan is saying, "So if I win this game, I can do anything I want to with 2020?" And God looks over and says, "Sure." And that's pretty much what happened. So after 2020, they skipped the reunions and stuff, and then we hit on 2021. And now it's on an odd. We just had 2023 in September in Oklahoma City, and now the next one will be in 2025. And we'll see how many are left and be able to make that. But at any one time, we never had more than, just a small group of people. And we never knew who was on Det Fort. We never knew who was in Bentui. I hated to go to Bentui. Hated it. They made you wear shirts and shit, and you're supposed to screw off, wasn't what we were doing. We got written up one time. We'd blown a bird. Most of the time, they'd fly a bird out to us, already rigged up. We'd put our personal shit in, and they'd take the old bird back, 100 hours. We had to fly down to Bentui, park that airplane, and they didn't have another one ready. So and that was over time. So we stripped that airplane. They brought us out another one that had like maybe an hour on it or something like that. So we were helping cover Det 8, which was down at Bontel. So not Bontel, Bentui. We were helping cover them while we were down there. I mean, why not? So we flew the time off of that one, made one flight, I think it was, and flew the time off of that. We did that a couple of times. We're out there changing gun pods and mounts and shit, stripped down shorts, and dude comes out from the flight line. Chief sent me out here to write, or first class, whoever it was, sent me out here to write you up. You're not wearing shirts. This fool didn't even have a pencil, much less a piece of paper. So I ran him off, ass out of here. So a few minutes later, he comes back. Now he's got his clipboard and a pen. Now he wants that list of names. So I stood there and gave him everybody's last name. So he goes back, and we're gonna hang our ass. Later that afternoon, pilot comes out. "Rogers, what's all this about?" He's got this paper and writing up and stuff. What the idiots didn't know, the first class that was so military and going to hang us, one of the guys without the shirt that was helping us set it up was one of the pilots. We were all out there together, crewmen and pilots together. We're all stripped down, sweating our ass off, putting this gunship back together. And he wants us to be military. So I gave him everybody's name. And then he checked, "Oh, well, that's a lieutenant." So
let's not do that.
One of the pilots, he was out there. Like I said before, it was, you went by last name or nickname, and that's what everybody was. Never saluted, just nod or something like that, or just stop and carry on conversation. But rank was not part of it. But I hated to go into it. But anyway, yeah, we'd get all kinds of static for that. But that was life in the REMSAT for us.
That people will learn. I've been learning about the REMSAT through the readings and from the Blu-ray. That was one hell of a place, and that's gonna probably bring. We're gonna definitely want you back, and I probably, since we were going through photos and all of that, we're probably gonna the next time do if you'd like to talk us through a mission or something in the REMSAT, or talk us through something like that. I think that would be very interesting. Since I had us kilter here showing photos, but everybody loves photos. So
I can tell you one right quick. I mean, I got time if you do. Scrambled out one night, middle of the night, raining like hell, big storm. SEALs were in contact. When we came off the end of the runway there and over the fence, started out over the river and started to lift up, well, that's when you go hot on all the guns, armament and stuff. So flipping switches and all this, getting shit set up. As we came up about, I don't know, 200, 300 feet or so, we're in the cloud cover and we couldn't see diddly squat. Now, instrumentation back then was no electronic. I've got one sitting over here. Was strictly a barometric altimeter. Well, you set it at 0 when you take off, then you get out in clouds and stuff. You could be 50 feet wrong one way or the other. Plus, we couldn't see. We didn't have a radar to see anywhere we were going. So we had to stay low. We weren't more than maybe 100 feet, a little less, at night in the rain, flying out to where the contact was at. It's the only way we could see. We get out, we could tell what was going on because the red tracers are going one way and the green ones are going the other way. So we would get out there and we had a couple of boats up against the bank. They're trying to get the SEALs out, and the SEALs were close contact. I mean, they said, 50, 75 feet. They were looking at each other through the bushes and shit. So when we got there, instead of setting up, making the rocket run, all this, all we did was just pull up behind 150, 200 feet or so to start hitting the clouds as we were coming straight in. We didn't set up nothing. As we were coming straight in, just raised up high enough and started punching off rockets. Co-pilots shooting side guns forward, and the door gunner over here, he's laying it to them as we come in. So when we go in that first time, we have to break off to the right. You don't break off over the enemy. So we had to break off to the right. So I wasn't in on that first run. And the trail bird came in the same way. Well, then we were able to get up and around, and I got the 50 on it because the next rocket runs, we could set up a little better. And I was on the left side that day. Chipone was on the 50 on that one. Chip was on that one. I was on the left side because I remember they kept saying closer, closer, and I kept reaching up there with my right foot and hitting that radio button on the bottom. And he said, closer, closer. And I'm within, 20 feet, 25 feet of I know down there, and shooting it down. I kept hitting that radio button. Am I too close? Am I too close? No, come on, come on. So finally got all that. And we were the boats were over here, bank was here. We were flying along right over top of these guys and shooting down over to let them get back in the boat. And we passed on by them thinking shit. Trailbird comes on around. We get on up and make the circle, and then Chip can get back on them with the 50. Finally got them broke off enough. They got in the boat. And there was another one of them tight little this wide narrow streams. And finally got the boats back out of there and had to low level again to get back home. Finally got everybody out. Everybody was cool. Nobody got hurt. Got back to the base then. And later we got citations. Chip got one. I got one. Pilots, I don't know what they got, DFCs or something. But anyway, that's just one episode typical of what we did. And it was one of the reasons why when I trained the guys by rote, do it by rote. You're not awake. You don't think about it. Just do it and tie the blade. Get out there. Get your butt out there. Make sure those guys on the ground get home. And that was just one night, just one flight, really. Other times, that kind of stuff was typical. Come back in, you think, oh, well, we just out patrolling, nothing happened, we just come back, we sit down, we fuel, park in the revetment, check everything over, we got all the rockets, didn't shoot anything much. Checking things, check for hydraulic leaks and open the panel. What the hell is that damn hole doing in my tail boom? I didn't see that. Where'd that come from? And you got a bullet hole plumb through the damn airplane. And you're going, shit, this was a peaceful day. So...
You thought.
Same thing happened to me when I got hit. The 50, because the way it's made, it's open on the bottom. He checks out the bottom. we're flying along, and we weren't that far back from base. We're on the return flight from patrol, and the damn thing blows up. The only thing we can figure out is that it took a round up underneath and hit that round that's ready to go into the chamber. It's got one in the chamber, and the next one up top ready to feed. Well, that bullet came up, and that round exploded. Still had one in the barrel, brass anyway. When got back with that mess, but when it went off, my left leg just goes. I thought, what the hell? Oh shit! Anyway, Fairbanks was with me that day too, and he started pulling my pants leg up, flight suit, and had pants on underneath, and didn't have that, so I pulled my pocket knife out. What was that thing? TL-29 or something. Anyway, there was a number for that knife, and it had a knife blade and a screwdriver blade. So I flipped that up. Me being a hillbilly, my knife was sharp. You know, you shave with it. It's a knife. It's supposed to be sharp. And I cut my flight suit, and I had on a brand new pair of camis. Oh shit, brand new pants, and I had to cut them babies, and that upset me too. Anyway, had a hole, you know, about like the end of your little finger there, red, and they get all excited about it. You know, shit, it hurt a little bit, but that was it. That was the only thing, hole in there. So got on back to base and sat down. They didn't even sit down fuel, sat down. They had the Jeep, the med Jeep out there, the stretcher on it. They wouldn't let me walk and put me on the damn stretcher, you know, made a show out of it. Went up to the med tent. I'm up there, and the lieutenant, young doctor, he's got his forceps, you know, he's pulling out these chunks of, look like brass, I guess, from the shell, pulling out little pieces of shit. And one piece in there he couldn't find. So he had this little metal rod, looked like a knitting needle, you know, stainless steel. X-rays are two-dimensional, so you can't tell, you know, so you're two-dimensional flat. Going to poke that thing down in there, see if we can get this, that tip, go back into the X-ray room, take a picture, come back out. Well, it looks like it's pretty close here, but you can't tell if it's close this way or close back here. You might be 6 inches off. Anyway, we did that 3 or 4 times, poking down in my leg. And I'm laying there on the gurney, got this thing in, trying to look at X-rays, figure out where the rest of this stuff is. He'd reach down in my leg with that forceps. Oh, that's hard, maybe that's it. And he'd pull it in my leg and pull. Oh, no, that's a ligament. Turn that loose. Anyway, he did that. So I'm laying there, and Commander Price comes in. How you doing, Roger? You okay? Oh, okay. When do I get my Purple Heart? You don't get a Purple Heart for this. And I just looked at him. To this day, I do not have a Purple Heart. I still got the shrapnel because I got to have that X-rated when I go in for MRIs, magnetic being what it is, but I think it's still a piece of brass. I don't think it's magnetic. I've had a couple of MRIs and it hadn't come out yet, so far so good. But that kind of shit went on. So the records from Vietnam, don't trust them as being true and accurate. Price was, I have my opinion, but he was too damn sorry to put in the damn paperwork. And he didn't. If I had known then, I would have went to the chaplain. Chaplain, you know, because as the rule reads, I found out later, when you're in a combat situation, any doubt, and how the hell could be doubt, but any doubt would go to the recipient. I'm flying along, my gun blows up. Oh, it must have been a cook-off. Well, no. 50 fires from a closed breech position. The bullet is already in the chamber. The bolt is locked in. If it cooked off, and I have had several cook-offs, you just wait there and the thing goes boom. And like I was talking about that spring before on the back of that knurled knob, flip that spring. When it goes boom, then the bolt's back and it won't fire again. It won't load another one in there. So that bullet had to have come in from the bottom, hit that next ready shell, and blew the damn thing up. And it looked like it, the pictures of it too. It made a mess out of it. I've got places in my flight log that they scratched a little place and then added 2 more flights. They forgot to put them in there. So shit gets left out. doesn't get done, gets done wrong, all kinds of crap, so we sea stories. Oh, sea stories. We were going to talk about that. The 4 kinds of stories. When Jeff and Shannon were at Dallas, Texas, and they were beginning to make the Seawolf documentary, Scramble Seawolves, I told them down there in the lobby that afternoon, first gathered together, I said, when you see this, you're going to hear 4 kinds of stories. And you have to be aware of what kind of stories you hear, because it's going to affect how you think about it. The first story you're going to hear, first kind of story, is a fairy tale. Now, a fairy tale starts out once upon a time. The second kind of story you're going to hear is a Gothic novel. Now, a Gothic novel starts out, it was a dark and stormy night. The third kind of story you're going to hear is a sea story. Now, a sea story is going to start out, you boys ain't going to believe this yet. The fourth kind of story is a sea wolf sea story. And a sea wolf sea story starts out, you boys ain't going to believe this shit, but once upon a time, on a dark and stormy night, we got scrambled. And the story takes flight from there. Sea wolf story.
I'm glad you remembered that, because I wanted that one to be told. That I love that. I got that same talk when I went to SOAR. It's like, no, be careful. You're about to enter the den of SOG stories and lore. So get ready.
I got told the head steward there at the reunion. Now you're going to hear some bullshit.
I love it.
Yeah, that's what it amounts to.
We're definitely gonna have to plan something and have you back once everybody gets out there and gets the Seawolf DVD, because I know some people already messaged me saying they're jumping on Amazon and jumping on the website to go grab it. So we're gonna have to definitely plan to have you back for a part 2. If you'd be open and willing to, of course.
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, we're just shooting shit, really.
Yeah.
What amounts to on my end.
And we love hearing you shoot the shit. It's right up our alley.
I'll try and get the 60 set up next time. So maybe, it's different seeing a picture than it is holding it in your hand.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that'll come across a little different, a little better.
That would be
really
amazing.
Trigger finger is your little finger. That just, nobody believes that. And one-handed out of the side of a helicopter, nobody believes that either. And yet, Brain Flash runs that special zone. Plain of Reeds down there. See if you can get in touch with Michael Dobson, asking about that little episode down there. He's got, I don't know that he's got as many flight hours as I do, but he's got probably as much spaghetti.
I've got that written down. Mike Dobson, Plain of Reeds. I'll start getting some stuff together, and of course have some photos. But I imagine folks are going to want to just hear some more of the Seawolf sea stories from me. That we've got a kick out of those and love hearing those. So with everyone saying thank you, and again, thank you for joining us. And is there, before we shut her down right here at the 2-hour 15 mark, would you anything you'd like to close with?
Not that I can think of, but we're just kind of off the wall anyway here. But we'll save the seawolf.org. There's a bunch of pictures on there. And sea stories. I've got a couple of things written in there. There is one sea story that I have written in there about when Larry Johnson got killed, when he died, helicopter crash. That story's in there. I was flying left side that day. Jay Wakeland, Wake was flying 50 on the right side. We were in the lead bird. Lieutenant Ski was the pilot. I do not remember the co-pilot. Trailbird, Larry Johnson was on the right side. He wasn't supposed to be. Joe Taylor was on no, wait a minute. Taylor was on the right side. Johnson bumped him. Joe Taylor was on the right side gunner. Larry Johnson's in the left side. I think Brokaw was the pilot. I don't remember the co-pilot's name in the Trailbird, but that story is written up in seawolf.org when Larry Johnson passed away.
That is a tough story, and I've just linked that to the to the comments over here for people to see. I recommend, guys, if you've especially if you're going to be looking at pictures, have some time, because once you see the first couple ones, you're going to be hooked and start going through the entire 3 or 4 page of the collections they've got with hundreds of photos. Absolutely amazing.
Now, the other thing about some of those pictures, like when we were looking at it, and that extra block in the front clamp of that M60, if you just look at that kind of stuff, not knowing, and then a dumbass like me comes along, hey, look at there, we made it up.
The beauty of finding stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure we'll have to go through some again and find some stuff, because there's always stuff popping up, like you said, in those that just
one thing about it, and we might get into that story a different time. Air Force pilot came up one time at one of the gun shows, and we had displays out there, George McGee and stuff. They didn't have this, they didn't have that, and he was telling his wife all this stuff that wasn't true. And we finally found out he was there at the very end at 75. He was Air Force, so he was not a pilot. Anyway, add 2 and 2. The only thing that you can say about the equipment in Vietnam, not where I was at, not while I was there, 20 miles down the road, they might have had an overabundance of that you didn't have any of and never used. And they had it running out their ears. So you cannot say, oh, didn't do that. Well, you didn't do it while you were there, where you were at. But other than that, it's the only thing I can tell you. We didn't do it like that. Some of the rest of them may show you pictures. Yeah, they did too. Okay, fine. Just like that, that picture. He didn't have access to a smaller pipe, water clamp pipe, clamp. That's the only one he had. It was too big. Well, jam something in there, take up the extra room, and keep going.
Improvise and adapt. All righty, guys. Well, I think this will be a good placeholder for part 1, and that just lets us know we've got a hell of a part 2 coming our way. So you guys start looking up the Seawolf. Please go out and get either the Blu-ray or the DVD or both. Get
the new ones. The new ones. There's only one. Wow, there's one package that has both in it. So when you get it, you get both.
Good. Well, y'all jump out there and grab that, because it covers the entire history and a lot of personal interviews like we did today, but also a lot of archival footage and actual gunfight footage. So it's amazing. But we'll put a pin in it right now for part 1, and we'll get ready for part 2. And Mr. Larry, again, thank you so much, sir, for joining us. It has been a wonderful afternoon getting to hear from you. So you have a good day, and I'm sure I'll be passing on hellos and thank yous for the next few days. So we'll be in touch, and take care of yourself, and see y'all later.
Thank you.